in Seoul. We are very pleased and honored to be joined in the studio by the acclaimed violinist Jiyoon, who, if you have been listening to our program, you'll remember she appeared on our program back in May. Just to recap, Jiyoon is a tenor concertmaster at the Berlin-based orchestra Staatskapelle Berlin and is considered by many to be among the best violinists in the world, gaining recognition and global acclaim despite only being in her mid-20s. So ahead of an upcoming concert this Saturday in Korea, we have invited her again to our studio, and she has gracefully accepted that invitation. We'll talk about the concert, all of her future plans. Joining us here in the studio right now, Jiyoon, thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Well, we talked, of course, on the phone. We got to know you better. Our listeners got to know you as well. It's been a few months since we talked about all of the developments. We discussed the historic achievement of being part of the Staatskapelle Berlin. It has a very, very long and storied history. And this achievement of being granted lifetime tenure since then, and I know that it's only been, let's say 5-6 months, 4 months?
Yeah, less than 5 months. But
what's been going on? Any updates or?
Well, I've been doing well, first of all.
Okay, good.
And I've been playing a lot of operas and concerts in the meantime. And I just finished my first season with the orchestra, and we had like 4 weeks of break in between in July. And I just got back to Korea today morning, and I was in Paris last week. That was our first season beginning concerts, and we had this tour in Paris, and we played in a music festival which is called Boulez Biennale. Boulez is the name of a French composer, Pierre Boulez. And we played in the Philharmonie de Paris, and it's the main hall which is named after him. So, yeah, it's been busy, and I've been very busy learning all the new repertoire and playing in Argentina, where we were in July, beginning of July, and in Paris, but yeah, and I had nice vacation in between.
Hopefully enough for us, because it seems like there's obviously the mental exhaustion of learning the new repertoire, but also the physical exhaustion of traveling around the world. Hope the jet lag is also something that you've recovered from. Can you tell us about your concert in Korea?
Well, the concert I'm having on Saturday is something relatively new to me. The concept of the concert, it's called La Dolce Vita, the music of Italian cinema. So, as you could guess, it's I'll be playing some film music, which would be actually also my first time to play. And I will be playing this beautiful film music, which were featured in popular Italian films, including Cinema Paradiso and Il Postino. And the concert is going to be with Gyeonggi Philharmonic Orchestra and the newly appointed chief conductor, Massimo Zanetti. It's an Italian conductor. And it's it's an open-air concert, which means, it's for bigger public. I mean, anyone can come by and listen, and they could sit outside and they could drink, they could eat something while listening to the concert, which means it's also for free. So I hope a lot of people will show up.
Yeah, so it's I think you're going for a very broad appeal, especially with the music that is going to be performed, but as well as opening it up to not just an exclusive, I guess, closed hall type of situation, but something that the wider public, who may not even be exposed, right, to the music that you've been able to perform. Speaking of your other accomplishments, you recently released your debut recording over the summer. You highlight the works of Eric Korngold, Carl Nielsen. Can you tell us about that project, how you felt about the creative process, and what these two musicians also mean to you?
Well, the recording proposal came first after I won the first prize in Carl Nielsen competition in 2016. And, well, it was part of the prize, so I got to record whatever I wanted. Last year, I think it was... Yeah, it was last year in July, and the recording took place in Odense in Denmark, with the orchestra there, because it's Odense is a city where Carl Nielsen was born, and and so it was sort of a natural choice for me to choose Nielsen Concerto to record, because it was right after I won the competition, and obviously I played Nielsen Concerto in the Nielsen competition, and while preparing for the competition, I mean, Nielsen Violin Concerto is really not so often played, strangely, and it was also very unknown to me, but while preparing for the competition, I learned this new concerto, and I found so many possibilities in the piece, and I just couldn't understand why aren't there many recordings of it.
Yeah.
I would have loved to listen to more interpretations from different musicians, and I thought maybe I could do one, and then the question was, then what would I pair with Nielsen Concerto? And I had many other options, like I was considering Bartok Concerto, I was considering, well, Britten Concerto, but because Nielsen Concerto is rather heavy music. It's one of the longest violin concertos which was ever written, and it's very virtuosic, very intense music. Not dark necessarily, but it's very, like all the Scandinavian pride in it, So it's not a music where you can just play like, I can do it, and, you just play. You can't really do it with Nielsen. And I thought, for the listeners and also for myself, maybe it's not a bad idea to pair a very enjoyable and very easy listen piece with it, and then it just struck in my head that actually Korngold Concerto was one of my bucket list piece to learn and to record, and I thought it was the best match, because on the contrary, Korngold Concerto is something maybe a little bit similar to film music, as Erich Korngold was. He was a composer in Hollywood, so he was composing a lot of music for Hollywood films. And I mean, the melodies of his concertos was also inspired from the Hollywood film music. So, it was, I mean, perhaps it is a big contrast to put Nielsen and Korngold together, but in the end, I found it a very good mixture. It was good balance, and also it's very nice relief after a huge, like, sort of mountain, of Nielsen Concerto music, and then there comes some sweet treat.
When we talk about 20th century music or romantic or Baroque or classical, there's a diverse kind of repertoire that people can perform. There's also a diverse group of talents that have come out of Korea, right? We have pianists, violinists, vocalists, just to name a few. A lot of them, Sunwoo Ye-kwon, Cho Sung-jin, Im Dong-hyuk, as well as the other violinist, Kim Soo-yeon, they're based in Germany. And you think of the hotspots. You mentioned Paris, Italy, London.
Yeah.
Why do you think so many Koreans congregate to Germany?
Well, funnily enough, all the names you just mentioned, they all live in Berlin. And I know a few of them just moved to Berlin, and I know that a few of them are my neighbors as well. And I think, it's not only Korean musicians who are moving to Berlin, but in general, like all the young generation of classical music, classical musicians, they tend to somehow find Berlin very fascinating, as well as I did. And well, I moved to Berlin 5 years ago to study firstly, but then I realized that also that Berlin is like a paradise for musicians to live or to work, because there are always concerts going on every night, every concert hall in Berlin, and and you meet just so many musicians and your colleagues, and you become friends and you inspire each other, and and then there's no other place where you could do it just very casually, because whenever you're invited to a party of your colleague and you meet coincidentally another musician which you probably have heard many times before but you have never met, and then you drink some wine and you eat something, and then you start to chat and you become friends and you keep in touch, and and then same thing happens again and again. So it's just, I find it the best place to like broaden your like relationship with people, and to meet a lot of different people, and just share your thoughts. And that's what's the most important for us
Right.
musicians, to share our thoughts and our ideas.
Well, it's your base, but you mentioned Paris. You are here in Seoul right now. The last time you were on KOREA24, you mentioned how these various geographic locations and their respective orchestras kind of have this definitive or unique sound to each area. The Gyeonggi Orchestra, the symphony that you are going to be performing in on the Saturday concert, how would you kind of assess the Korean classical music scene and the musicians?
Well, I find this question very interesting, because that's also what I realized a lot for past 1 year since I started working in the orchestra, because I realized how experimental Europe Orchestra could be. Because if you see the program of the season, and we have so many demanding program, and perhaps not so well known. I mean, you get to play all this contemporary music and modern music, which you probably would barely have chance to play when you're just, I don't know. I mean, when you're in smaller cities, and for example, we had this project where we did all 20th century music, so Britain, and it was Burt Russell and all this contemporary, and modern composers, and it's actually interesting how the audience reacts with this kind of program, because it's obviously not something you used to listen, or it's not something you can understand immediately in the concert when you listen to it. But I must say, Berlin public, they are very generous, and they're very supporting the idea of having all this, discovery of unknown pieces, and it's, well, you could call it a challenge to the audience to present all this, crazy stuff. But they're very supporting. But on the contrary, in Korea, as far as I know,
We're safer here, right?
yeah, we're safer, and we used to stick with what we know better, and a little conservative,
Right.
I would say.
Right.
And I think it's because, of course, partly because, classical music is not from our culture. I mean, that's totally understandable. But I also think that the Korean public, they are not, they need to be brave enough to face also the new repertoire, and to experience something, which are not known to them. And I'm the first person to bring these kind of, scenes on stage, and I would be, in the habits to do that.
I mean, even from the opera perspective, you can play Puccini's La Boheme like 20 times, but you won't see a Philip Glass opera
No,
here. And that's,
no.
as you say, it might take time, but perhaps there will be more and more bravery or kind of experimentation, and that will be accepted.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we're almost out of time, but
Oh.
we want to get your kind of final thoughts. And everyone's excited about this concert coming up on Saturday, but what are your future plans after that?
My future plans. Well, let me think. Well, now I have to sort of concentrate on my work because it has just started. But well, I have a couple of recitals in Berlin. I play in the Rising Star series in Pierre Boulez Hall, which is a newly opened hall in Berlin, and I'm planning on going to England for a recital as well, and there are a couple of concerto performances planned in Denmark. So yeah, here and there, a lot of concerts, but it's just my ultimate goal at the moment is to find a balance between my work and
Right.
my soloist career.
Well, hopefully you can find that balance. I know it's a very busy time, and we definitely appreciate you taking that time to visit us. Hopefully we can see you again, if not in person, but over the phone as well, and continue to visit us at KOREA24. Thank you so much, and best of luck
Thank
to you.
you. Thank you.